The next step is testing your speaker with an audio source. What I have is a computer that's going to play an audio CD, so you can select any piece of audio. I've selected La Traviata, and I'm going to play a song from La Traviata. And before I test the speaker, I'm going to use a speaker that I know will work. So this is a commercially made speaker. This is an audio amplifier that was made by students out of Hope College. And so by plugging this audio cable into my Mac here, I'll be able to test to see if I'm getting a good audio source out of my computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a song from La Traviata, and I'm going to plug in the speaker that I know works and see what it sounds like. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the homemade speaker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug the speaker that I didn't build, and now I'm going to plug in the wires that I scraped from my speaker. So I'm going to plug these in to the compression terminals, and this is just my initial test here. So got one wire plugged in there. I've got another wire plugged in here. And now I'm going to turn the sound on. And I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit. Not bad. Okay, so while you're testing your speaker, you may also want to play a little bit with the straw. You want the coil to line up with the center of the washer. So it shouldn't be down here and it shouldn't be way up here. It should be kind of right there. You should see about half of the coil. And you want to make sure that there's a tight connection here between the straw and the lid, because as the audio goes through the coil, that straw is going to vibrate, and you want those vibrations in the straw to be transmitted to the lid, because most of the sound is coming from this diaphragm. I'm going to solder these wires to these two solder lugs. One wire attaches to one solder lug. It doesn't matter which goes where. All right, but before I do any soldering, I'm going to thread the wire through the little hole, and then kind of wrap the wire around the eye so you have a good connection, and there's a lot of wire touching the solder lug. At this point, you can see that I've threaded the magnet wire through the holes and wrapped the wire around the solder lugs so that there is a lot of connection, or a good connection already, between the wire and the compression terminals. So the next step is just to ensure that we have a good connection all the time and not an intermittent connection. So I'm going to add a little solder to these points using the soldering iron, and I'm going to move my foam core away because I don't want to burn it. Okay, all I'm doing is just melting some of the solder. Find a hot spot on the iron where the solder will melt, and just drip it. It's a pretty good connection now. The next step is to take your speaker wire and put it into the compression terminals. I'm going to connect the speaker wire into the audio source just to confirm that it still works. And again, I'm playing La Traviata. We're now ready to glue the speaker and the compression terminal onto the foam core. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the foam core here, and my hot glue is hot and ready to go. So I'm going to put some hot glue there, and I'm going to pick the cup up and place it over the hot glue. It takes very little time to dry, and then I'm going to put some hot glue down here for the compression terminal and place that in place. And notice I have the speaker wires here, and the speaker wire is going to allow me to connect up to any audio source that is amplified. So I can't connect to an iPod or an MP3 player. I'll need an amplifier first, but if I have a stereo system with an amp, then I can connect directly to it with these wires. I'm going to twist these wires like that. Okay, then I'm going to turn the amplifier on. Now, for those of you who really don't like my musical selection, now I'm going to do a test. I'm going to take the lid off so you can see what happens to the straw when the lid isn't there. Notice the straw jumping around as the music plays. The electrical signal is being converted into a vibration, which is what sound is. And so what we want to do is we want that motion in the straw to be transmitted to the lid. So listen to the difference between the speaker without the lid and the speaker with the lid.